This message is a public service of KKFI.
Brand new music from Bobcat Attack, Bird of Prey, that came out through Le Bonbon Electrique, the record machine, on January 10th. And Bobcat Attack is Nathan Rusch, co-founder of the Record Machine, an area music label that's celebrating 22 years this year. Nathan first started making electronic music under the name Bobcat Attack a number of years ago, and he opened for bands like Taking Back Sunday and Coheed and Cambria. And he started the indie label, The Record Machine, in 2003. And 2011 founded the KC Middle, the Map Fest. And kind of his own personal music making came to a halt because of all that work. And under Nathan's leadership, The Record Machine has been the label for bands like Static Phantoms, Monta, Various Blonde, Cowboy Indian Bear, La Guerre, The Philistines, Blacklight Animals, many, many more. Nathan's also a DJ. And during the pandemic, Nathan was inspired to dust off his Bobcat Attack moniker and go back to making music. And after kind of working on his own, he joined the KC Synth Collective and found a group of similarly minded electronic musicians. And we played his debut track, Palace, last year. Came out in September. And we're happy to play new music. Nathan Rusch, thanks for being with us on the radio today.
Yeah, thanks for having me in.
Also with us on the show is Zach Lehman, who records electronic music as a worker, WRKER with an underscore period. Worker is an electronic music producer who's been pushing the boundaries of jungle and drum and bass since 1996. Growing up in Bentonville, Arkansas, his early days were steeped in a passion for underground sounds that would later find new expression through the innovative capabilities of the Poly-N Tracker. 2004, he moved to Kansas City, Missouri, and that was kind of a turning point for Zach, offering fresh perspectives on a vibrant new music scene to fuel his creative journey. It draws inspiration from influential forces and like the pioneering UK label Metal Heads, as well as experimental realms such as the Aphex Twin, Venetian Snares, Square Pusher, Workercraft's complex high-energy soundscapes that blend intricate backbeats with futuristic electronic textures. We're going to be playing one of the songs from Worker coming up in just a moment. We first played Worker on the show back on October 4th, 2023. And both Nathan and Zach, you're with us. Hey, Zach, how you doing today?
Hi, good. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Nathan and Zach are here to talk about the KC Synthesizer Collective, which is a group of electronic musicians working to build platforms for experimental and emerging artists, and is cultivating a community centered around creativity and self-expression in the electronic music scene. And the collective meets on the first and third Tuesdays from 6 to 10 at the Stockyards Brewing Company. And they're celebrating their third anniversary with a special show Friday night, February 21st at 7 o'clock at Stockyards Brewing Company, which is located at 1600 Genesee Street, Suite 100. You can go to kcsynthcollective.com. Nathan Roosh, a.k.a. Bobcat Attack, Zach Lehman, a.k.a. Worker. Thanks, both of you, for being on the radio with us today.
Thanks for having us on.
Nathan, I love the new single, Bird of Prey. It's getting some good attention. I know you were featured on 90.9 The Bridge. Michelle gave you some press for the new single, which is really nice to see, right?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Like, I've been doing, this stuff for a long time for other people, but it still like gives me goosebumps, like seeing it and doing it for my own music.
I bet. Zach, welcome to the radio. Worker is, I know Nathan first introduced me to your music 2 years ago when Outer Reaches Festival comes on the show every year to talk about what's happening. And that's when we first played your music on the show. And you talk about in your bio about how moving to Kansas City was kind of a turning point for you musically. Is that right?
Yeah, it was. That was a big deal. I'm from a small town in Bentonville, Arkansas. Well, it's not as small as it used to be, but it was very small when I lived there. And I had like a really small group of friends that were kind of into music, and we were kind of just figuring things out our own. And this was like, pre like YouTube. So like when you got equipment, you had to read manuals. You had to like kind of just figure it out on your own and work with your friends, in person. But yeah, when I moved to Kansas City, that was a huge deal, especially finding all these like-minded, individuals. So I lived here quite a while, and before that, and was just still kind of doing things on my own. And I don't know, just like one day I was like, there's got to be like other people that are, making electronic music, that are interested in synthesizers and gear and stuff. And I think I searched on Instagram, like Kansas City synthesizer or something, and somehow I came across like a small Instagram page about the Synth Collective, and I think that was maybe 2.5 years ago that I kind of found the group, but that was a huge deal. Like just being able to talk to people that are like-minded and share music with each other, and it's just such a cool community.
Just about a minute here, we're going to play your new single, Ice, that just recently came out. This is like the newest piece of music that you put out on January 14th. This is from an upcoming EP that you're working on?
Yeah, so, and that song is kind of different than what I've been doing. I've mostly kind of have been into, jungle and breakbeat, really hectic and kind of frenetic like sounds. And I don't know, sometimes I think that kind of music is less approachable for certain people because it's just kind of it's just like a lot going on. It's really fast.
Right.
But this song is something I've been working on that's more maybe in the vein of like if Boards of Canada or things like that. It's a lot more mellow and melodic, and definitely a change of pace from what I kind of normally do.
Okay, we're going to play this and we'll come back and we'll talk about it. You've also released another EP earlier this year, a 5-track EP, and then last year you released singles. Your Bandcamp page has a lot of stuff on it, but we're going to play this and we'll come back and talk about it. This is Worker and a single called Ice, kind of appropriate for today.
Yeah, very.
new music from Worker. The track is called Ice. It's from the upcoming EP that Worker is working on. Earlier this year, Worker put out a 5-track EP called Hear This on January 7th, and last year released a single called Five, and also has released a single called Berserk, and lots of other music. On the phone, we have Zach Lehman, who records as Worker. It's WRKER_. Zach, thanks for being with us on the radio today.
Thank you.
Listening to your music on the phone is a whole new experience, I'm sure. I think I'd rather be listening to your music on the phone than some of the stuff that people make you listen to on the phone.
Yeah, that would be a good on hold song, that last one.
So good. I heard you mention Boards of Canada, which is a band that we've played on this show that we love a lot. And basically you're just demonstrating how there's so many different kinds of electronic music available to the listener, and artists make many different kinds of sounds, even though the drum and bass thing has been a big part of your passion, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely, I would say, what I'm probably most known for, but I've always made like that type of kind of mellow melodic stuff as kind of a break from like the tedious programming and sequencing of like jungle and drum and bass. But I think, some people are surprised that they're like, oh, you make this style as well. But like, I don't know, electronic music, that's the great thing about it. You just do whatever you want. You feel however you feel creative, there's just so much room to just experiment and just do whatever, and then kind of do a thing and move on to the next. I don't feel like you have to be pigeonholed into one kind of style.
I agree. We're not into pigeonholes here at all on this radio show.
Yeah.
So, I was one of those kids that grew up like being a huge Bowie fan, and like the albums Heroes and Low introduced me to a whole new world of electronic music with Brian Eno, and I became an Eno fan. And that guy's put out so much music and so many different kinds of electronic music that is amazing. Also with us on the phone, we have Nathan Rush, who records as Bobcat Attack. And Nathan is known in the community for so many things, one of them being one of the co-founders of The Record Machine and one of the founders of the Middle of the Map Fest. And Nathan, do you remember the first time you were introduced to electronic music?
Boy, I really don't, actually. Like, I was late 90s. I was getting into so much different kinds of genres, and but I don't really remember my first introduction into electronic music necessarily. When I started making music, it was actually on a chord organ in like the early 2000s, and a friend had just given me this like really crappy chord organ like that like blows the air through it. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but like that's kind of what I originally started writing songs on, and then like there was other things like Cassiatone for the Painfully Alone that was coming out at the same time that like I heard and was like, oh, this is kind of similar, and became a little bit of an influence. But mostly I just was like trying to figure out how to write like these weird little emo songs on this chord organ.
You don't necessarily feature, well, you do have some electronic music on the Record Machine, but you've created a new imprint within the label for electronic music, haven't you?
Yeah, so my buddy Mark Roning and we had been kind of talking about how to get him more involved. And so the imprint is kind of his baby. And he was gracious enough to like help take on some, working on some of my tracks. And then we're working on the house with that project, a band from Wichita, and hopefully working on some other stuff later this year.
We're on the phone with Nathan Rush, who records electronic music as Bobcat Attack, has a new single out. Also, Zach Lehman, who records as Worker, and you can find it at WRKER_. And both of them are part of the Kansas City Synthesizer Collective, which is celebrating their 3rd anniversary with a special show Friday, February 21st at 7 o'clock at the Stockyards Brewing Company at 1600 Genesee Street down in the Bottoms. And you can go to kcsynthcollective.com. You guys meet down at the Stockyards Brewing Company twice a month, don't you?
Yeah, so we meet the first and third Tuesday of the month. The first Tuesday is kind of like a jam, and everybody brings all kinds of crazy synth gear and just kind of hangs out, talks. You know, if somebody's got a problem or a question, you know, like it's a great time to, like, you know, be able to ask like-minded people in the community that maybe have dealt with something similar or help you figure it out. And then the third Tuesday, we do it as more of a like an open call to people that are part of the community. And so people that have never played shows before, sometimes they're playing their first show at it. And we kind of treat it like open mic style where people just submit, hey, we want to play this month. And we probably have, 4 or 5 different musicians every month that are doing something cool.
Zach, I want to thank you so much for being with us today on the radio. I noticed the artwork for your latest release. Is that someone in your family? The imagery that we're seeing?
Yeah, that's my youngest daughter.
I thought so. I was wondering about that. That works out really well.
Yeah, I use her a lot. I've used my older daughter too, and they always, I don't know, they love that. They're always, I don't know, it makes them feel like, oh, I'm kind of a celebrity, you know. They'll see me or see themselves on the little icon, like when I'm playing music in the car or something. So, and plus, I don't know, they're free models that live in my house, so
right.
I use them.
No, exactly. We as artists, you involve your life in all kinds of ways. So I appreciate that, Zach, and thank you for your music. I really love it. It's amazing. Nathan Roosh, a.k.a. Bobcat Attack, Zach Lehman, a.k.a. Worker. Thank you guys for being on the radio today with us. We're going to go out with a song from Dusk Runner, which I don't know a lot about. I think Dusk Runner is also known as Jesse Jones.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Jesse is an artist who's done a lot of different kinds of music in Kansas City with many different bands. And this is like a part of his life, Dusk Runner. So we're going to hear Stranger Danger coming up in just a moment. But I want to let people know that next week on our radio show, band leader, activist, MC, rap music extraordinaire Les Ismore is going to be taking over our radio show as guest producer for the whole 2-hour show. So that'll be really something to tune in for. Coming up at noon is Radio Nico Pisa at 12 o'clock, and then Jazz Afternoon at 2 o'clock, and then Dubs Groove with Warren at 4, and then On Air with Nikki Brooks at 6 o'clock. And you can find our playlist at WednesdayMiddayMedley.org, where we have a lot of notes about all the artists that we play, and you can learn more about them through reading those. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram and all the different social media places. And we're going to close with Dusk Runner, Stranger Danger. Zach, Nathan, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
the party's over now. The dawn is drawing very nigh.